Hey guys, and welcome back to another best of Assetto Corsa sounds video for you, but this time we have a Goodwood special. Now this weekend it's the Goodwood Festival of Speed, and actually at the time of recording it's actually been going on for 2 days already, and luckily for me I'll be attending on Saturday and Sunday. So what this video will be, we will be looking at nearly 70 different cars from Formula 1, Grand Prix, sports cars, GTs, all the good stuff. And now some of these have already featured on other episodes of the Best of Assetto Corsa Sounds videos, and but it's nice to have them on another video. We've compiled this list and from a selection of nearly 400 cars that I could have featured, but we narrowed it down to exactly 67, and so it's a little bit of a long one. It's nearly an hour long, well, pretty much is just over an hour long, so I'd recommend you grab a nice cup of tea or nice hot chocolate or coffee or something, and I think this will be something I'll do every year, you know, to celebrate the Goodwood Festival Speed. We will do a video on it like I did last year, and I think that's a pretty good idea if you like that. Also, obviously I'm going to be commentating throughout this entire video. If you want to see one without commentary, do let me know and I'll upload that one too. But yes, we have nearly 70 cars, and this took all week to make, and we're just getting proceedings started on the hill climb. You can see a lovely, beautiful Ford GT40 Mark 1 heading off the start line. The first car, this one made by Kunos as well, so a decent way to begin, and ironic actually, because this was the first video that I did for this channel, where I just simply took a Ford GT40 up the hill, and that was my first video. I think it stands about 80 views at the moment, but yeah, I'd really appreciate a like on this video. This one has taken me all week to do, and originally I did this voiceover yesterday, but I remembered only after that I left the audio on the video edit, as it were, and so you could actually hear a word I was saying, and so I had to rush home after work and redo it, and here we are. And this is a bit of a miserable day in the UK here. If you're watching any of the Friday action at Goodwood, then you will know it's a pretty rainy day, and it's going to be pretty similar tomorrow, and so that should be fun. I've got all my cameras set up, it's all going to be good fun. Now here's a treat for you, a car which I said recently that I was going to take on the Targa Florio. That's still coming, don't worry. This is the Porsche 908-3 made by Legion in that wonderful Martini livery. Honestly, a brilliant car to drive. I love a car where you can really just sort of throw around and be ultra aggressive with it, and this is one of them. That beautiful rear winglets are not exactly, it's not exactly a rear wing on this car. They're more just sort of winglet shark fins, as it were, and I've done a few practice laps around the Targa Florio in this car, and needs a little bit of work. I'm not exactly fast with it, however I can be. I just need to adjust the setup, which I'm not very good at. I'm not knowledgeable with any kind of setup things, and I'm not very knowledgeable about every car that you see on this video, so I may get things wrong. If I do, let me know in the comments. And that was a pretty decent run by the Porsche, and here we have all this noise being created by the V12 out of this, the Ferrari 412T1B from 1994. This one made by ASR Formula, an absolutely incredible mod creation studio. If you haven't checked them out, please do. This is an almighty car, probably one of my favourite cars from 94, and one of my favourites to drive, which is why you are seeing it quite high up on this list, because I really wanted to get this one out of the way. And as you can see, it's a fast run already going past the Flint Wall, and it's just an absolutely beautiful car. It's a shame we never actually saw much success, but the next car that's currently on the start line did manage to see some success, and that is of course the McLaren MP4-6 driven by Ayrton Senna, and I've forgotten Oh dear, I'm terrible at this. I'm tired, okay, I'm tired. It's been a busy week. And yeah, Ayrton Senna, of course, won the 1991 championship in this car, and probably one of his best wins in Formula 1, the 1991 Brazilian Grand Prix. And of course, if you haven't watched that race, you know that he only had 6th gear towards the end of the race, and he was very lucky because Riccardo Patrese in the Williams was catching him up very, very fast, and luckily just managed to hold on and win that race. His first Brazilian Grand Prix victory, and what an incredible one that was. And what an incredible car is to drive as well. Another ASR Formula car, but this one isn't. This is made by Kunos. This is the 1975 Ferrari 312T. Another iconic Formula 1 car. This one, of course, the championship winning car, and gets a little bit squilly there. Not my fault, it's no grip, clearly. Of course, I did all these drives, and that's why this has taken me so long to do. But of course, 1975, Ferrari's first championship since 1964. And what an iconic design. The 312 lasted so long. The first 312 you saw was in 1966 and lasted all the way up into the mid 1970s. And here's our first proper modern car, the 2021 Toyota GR010. This version made by United Racing Design. Probably one of my favourite hypercars to drive in Assetto Corsa. It really sounds absolutely lovely. And quite an iconic design. It has won Le Mans twice already, won it in 21 and at 22, and has pretty much been the dominant force in hypercar and just in endurance racing in general. Toyota really just being the forerunners of that, and not really seeing much competition up until recently, where we saw, of course, what happened at the 2023 24 Hours of Le Mans. Toyota very much unlucky. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong, and now we have another very modern car. This is the 2022 Red Bull RB18, but in actual fact it's the VRC Formula Alpha 22, so it's just a sort of generic Formula 1 car from these regulations, and it just looks like a Red Bull. And of course, so that almighty V6 turbo hybrid sound is probably one of the best sounding Formula 1, modern Formula 1 cars you can get, and absolute blast to drive. I prefer driving this one to the new RSS 2023 car, and yeah, it's just an absolutely beautiful car, and one of the most dominant cars in Formula 1 up until recently. If you've been following Formula 1, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, here, what you're seeing in front of you is probably my favourite car from the 1960s. This is the Eagle Mark 1. This particular version made by Bazza, and an iconic Formula 1 design, pretty much designed and built for Dan Gurney. And he was so tall that when Martin Brundle drove it, he couldn't reach the pedals, and because obviously the car was designed for Dan Gurney, who's very tall. Martin is average height, so yeah, he struggled, and it's a shame this car never really got too much success. If it did, and obviously would have just gone to bigger and greater things for the All-American Racing Team, or Anglo-American Racing Team. I've forgotten. Like I said, I'm not an expert. I'm just rewatching what I've created and just commentating over. This run was really fun as well. Absolute blast. It sounds gorgeous, and just that blue, it's just amazing. Perfect American car. And here's another icon from the 80s. Is the Porsche 962C, an absolute icon from the Group C era. One of the most successful racing cars of all time. Now, what is there to say about these cars I haven't already been said? This is super fast. I think I've achieved 220 miles an hour on the Mulsanne straight in this car, in qualifying trim. I'm not the fastest, but still 220 miles an hour, that's still insane. And I've only done 2 races in this car, failed miserably, but again, in that livery, it's absolutely stunning. It really, really is. And here's another stunning car, probably my favourite era of F1, the V10 era. We have our first one. We have a couple more coming your way shortly. the 1999 Ferrari F399, and of course very speedy, probably my favourite V10 to drive in Assetto Corsa. This one made once again by ASR Formula, and if you really want to get a feeling for what it was like to drive these things, take this on the old Hockenheim circuit, and trust me, thank me later. Absolutely incredible. And just before I move on, I'm going to take a sip of my tea. Hope you enjoyed those engine sounds. Here's another iconic car, just iconic car, not a racing car, but just iconic car, the 1987 Ferrari F40, which was originally designed with Group B in mind. It's got an incredibly powerful V8 engine in it, of course turbocharged, as you can hear, an incredibly beautiful design. I mean, not my personal favourite Ferrari out there. My favourite is coming up soon, but with that rear wing or rear spoiler, as you may call it elsewhere, it's an absolutely iconic design, beautiful sounding car. But doing this run, it was really nice to sort of take this car to some sort of speed, because the only time I had driven this car was around a non-race day version of Monaco at the speed limits around Monaco, which was a nice relaxing drive actually. I think it was episode 3 of the Best Sounds of Assetto Corsa where you saw me doing that. Now on the start line now, the car's very special to me. The ultra fast, ultra powerful 1982 Renault RE30B, as driven by Rene Arnoux, who is attending Goodwood Festival Speed this weekend, and hopefully I'll get to meet him, because I missed out last year because I didn't actually recognise him. I'm sorry Rene, if you're watching. I doubt it, but I'm sorry. Hopefully I can meet you and have a chat with you. This car is absolutely awesome to drive, it really is. I once did a 1982 Austrian Grand Prix and finished side by side, just like the real version did. It's absolutely incredible. Now this is a car that's just stapled into Formula 1 history, the 1938 Alfa Romeo 158. Now what many people don't remember, this car wasn't built in 1950, it was actually in the 30s, and because of the outbreak of the Second World War, this just got sort of put away in the sidelines. It continued to race in Italy in the early 1940s until things got a bit too much and they had to stop racing altogether. But it returned in the mid-1940s as part of the new Formula 1 regulations, and when the new Formula 1 Championship came along in 1950, it was still around and it still decided to use it. And obviously we all know, ended up being the first Formula 1 Championship winning car at the hands of Giuseppe Farina. Now first on board of the day, as I switched the camera there, a bit of an editing mistake, oh well, doesn't matter. The 2007 McLaren MP4 22, and we're going to be doing a little bit of a fast run here. And if you haven't downloaded Goodwood Festival Speed Circuit or Hill Climb, do so. It's really, really good fun just to drive your favourite cars. You know, however pace you can pretend you're properly driving, wave to the crowd. But what would be nice is a proper detailed version of this event, because there's so much to it that isn't here, like the rally stages, all the paddocks, all the areas where you can take the car. It would be really nice to see that. And that's a fast run there, and an iconic McLaren. And the McLaren that I grew up with almost. I remember it very, very well from my youth. And now here we have probably my favourite sports car of all time. Not my favourite Ferrari, my favourite sports car. The Ferrari 330 P4 from 1967. And it's absolutely gorgeous. How could you not love this car? It is just, put this thing next to the GT40. I'm sorry, but I'll go for the Ferrari. I think that was even mentioned. I don't know if Ken Miles actually said this, but in the film Le Mans 66, when Ferrari turns up to the race, you see Ken Miles, obviously played by Christian Bale, with a cup of tea in hand, mention, if this was a beauty contest, we've just lost. I don't know if he actually said that. If someone could clarify if he actually said that. I think somebody said that, but I'm not too sure. But yeah, absolutely gorgeous design, just sexy, just absolutely sexy. Forget value for money or really expensive cars. Obviously these cars are very expensive, but forget anything else. This is the one I'll go for if I had the money, but I don't. But you can donate if you like. Anyway, bit of touring car action from the 1998 Vauxhall Vectra, as used in that season's British Touring Car Championships, and during an era where touring car was pretty much almost as popular as Formula 1, where you had an era known as the Super Touring Cars, and an absolutely just mental era where you had Murray Walker commentating, you had some of the most popular drivers in the world, Brands Hatch, Donington, Thruxton, Alton Park. It was just an incredible time for British touring cars, and the Vauxhall Vectra is an icon of that era as well. Now we have a car which is actually at the event itself this year. It's the 2021 Mercedes W12, as driven by Lewis Hamilton that year in probably one of the greatest Formula 1 seasons that we've ever seen in recent times. This particular one is made by Racing Studios, isn't the actual car. Again, this is just a mock-up of the regulations at the time, and it just looks like a Mercedes. And are we going to get some burnouts in front of the house? We are gonna. There's no smoke for some reason. When I did this run, I looked into mirrors and thought, where's the smoke gone? Oh well, it still sounded cool, I think. I hope. I don't know. I'm going to hopefully try and make myself not too loud, so then you hear all the cars yourself. But of course, the 2021 Formula 1 season, it had everything. It had controversy, awesome racing between two extremely talented drivers, and a season where, if I look back, I think, we should have appreciated more rather than crying about it. Yes, I'm calling you out. I appreciated it for what it was. It was an incredible season. Every race was just nail-biting without fault. It was just an incredible season and an incredible car as well. Obviously, Constructors' Champion that year after 8 years of Mercedes dominating the hybrid era. And here we have the Lancia D50, an incredibly loud car. If you've ever seen one of these things in action, you'll know how loud this is. It is really, really loud. Probably because it was at the event last year, and it was hands down the loudest car there. And obviously you'll notice something a little bit odd about this car if you haven't seen this car before. The fuel tanks are mounted on the side in a pannier tank configuration. So if anything hits that, that's bad news. You'll never see a car like that ever again. I'm not too sure why Lancia decided to put them on the side, but hey, here we are. It won a championship, so obviously they know a little bit more than me. Right, our first proper timed run, we have 3 of these. This is the VRC 1997 Williams FW19. Off we go already. Super fast through the first corner, and this is probably one of the most fun. It's a little bit tricky sometimes, but one of the most fun V10 cars to drive in Assetto Corsa, and absolutely incredible design. This one is actually going to be at the event. Hasn't driven on the hill climb yet, but I'm sure it will. And this, of course, is the championship winning car from 1997. Look how quick it was through the flip wall. I did close my eyes when I did these runs. That was a real close your eyes moment, and hope for a surprise at the end, which is crossing the line and getting a 39 seconds. And just, incredibly fast run there. Not the fastest, but still pretty good. Now here's my favourite Ferrari, the 31267. No matter where I am, no matter what track I'm at, whether it be Spa, Kyalami, Silverstone, Watkins Glen, any track that suits the 1967 season, is this car that I'm picking. For a while it was the Lotus 49. That was my go-to 1960s car. But now it is indeed the Ferrari 67. Sounds absolutely gorgeous from the cockpit, and nearly went into the hay bales there. I did go onto the garage and nearly had a moment, but luckily managed to recover, and off we go through the flip wall. And this car didn't match up to the success it could have done. Obviously Lotus were on top of their game at the time, but just an absolutely incredible design. Formula 1 has really come a long way, hasn't it? And here we have a 2009 Formula 1 car, the Brawn GP BGP 001, of course, the famous championship winning car from Jenson Button and Rubens Barrichello. I'm struggling to talk now because I've been talking for 20 minutes straight. But of course, absolutely iconic. Only lasted one season before being bought out by Mercedes. Brawn obviously came out the old Honda Works team. And yeah, it was an absolutely incredible season. Brawn probably weren't the best car on the grid. That probably went to Red Bull. But they still managed to just hold out and win the championship. Now, another iconic Formula 1 car. This is the 1972 Lotus 72D, as driven by Emerson Fittipaldi, who is at the event this year. And again, hope to go and meet him, say hello, get a photo of him or an autograph. And yeah, an iconic design. You can really see how the designs from this year really kind of set in stone all the designs for future Formula 1 car designs. And speaking of Red Bull, here we have the 2010 Red Bull RB6, which has a bit of a weird sound. You'll notice we have the blow diffuser sounds, that orgasmic growl every time the car brakes or slows down. This car didn't actually have that sound. That belongs to the RB7 of 2011. But I decided to put it on this one because I thought it sounded cool and I was doing a season in it, so I wanted that sound. So just listen. Now it's just an incredible sound. If that still existed now, I'd be a very happy man. It really, of course. And this car, 2010, won by Sebastian Vettel that season, the championship. And of course, Red Bull went on to have a 4-year winning streak after that. Now, here's a car that I'm pretty much very familiar with, the Maserati 250F, this one made by Kunos. And if you've been following this channel, you'll know we spent 2 seasons in historic F1 series driving this thing, both the 6-cylinder version and the 12-cylinder version, this one being the 6-cylinder one. And of course I won the 3rd season, I won that in the 12-cylinder, and it came down to the wire on the 2nd season. That was incredible. And this one, probably one of the most beautiful car designs of the 50s. It's just, you look at that, you think, damn, that is 1950s in a nutshell, because there's nothing fancy about it. It's just car, simple. Sounds like this where I wish I had a co-commentator. I should have invited one really. Maybe if I do this one again, I'll invite one of you to do that for me. But anyway, we have another V10 here, the 2000 McLaren MP4-14, also another car which is at Goodwood this year. This one made by Race Sim Studios, and probably the best sounding V10 you can find in Assetto Corsa. But with that becomes the most difficult car to drive in Assetto Corsa. These cars didn't, of course, have any kind of traction control, and yeah, and these are incredibly light, incredibly small, and just ridiculously fast in an era of Formula 1 which was just orgasmic. Whenever you watch a home video, because I kind of prefer watching home videos of people going to our Formula 1 events, because it just sounds so much better. It's not lowered or anything like that. It's not suppressed. There's no commentary. It's just pure sound. I know this video is not pure sound because I'm just talking gibberish over the entire thing. Now here we have an era of Formula 1 where pretty much solidified the future of Formula 1. We have the Matra MS10, and you'll notice that big, massive aerofoil on the back, as well as the small front wings. Of course, engineers at the time came up with the idea of downforce, so they took a regular aircraft wing which normally would produce lift, and they inverted it, and obviously we have the forces going down rather than up, which will then push the car onto the track and to have a little bit more grip. And here's another car which was a pioneer in aerodynamics. We have the Lotus 79, probably one of the most aesthetically pleasing Formula 1 cars of all time. I actually have 2 models of this car in my flat at the moment, but this one, the first in a generation of Grand Effect cars, And I'm not going to sit here and explain ground effect for you, because I'm not a genius. I know how it works, but I really struggle to talk about things sometimes. I mean, I spoke to a customer today, and even though I knew what I was talking about, I still couldn't get the words out. I'm just like that. It's anxiety. Doing this can cause anxiety bursts sometimes, but of course, this one's still fitted with a Ford Cosworth DFV, and incredible sound. It really is. Across the line, just an absolute blast to drive on these cars. I'm not very good at it. I haven't really seen too much success in driving those cars in sim, but it's still fun nonetheless. Now here's another Ferrari from the 60s, the 250 GTO, one of the most valuable cars ever made. I think one recently sold at auction for around £70 million, wasn't it? Or $70 million. Ridiculous, too expensive. Who has that kind of money? That just blows my mind. Who has money to spend on a car? That's alright, you can get people spending millions, but 70 million on a single car, where 40 years ago it wasn't even considered that valuable. Absolutely crazy, but a beautiful car. I once did a chill drive around Targa Florio with the sun setting in that car, and again, it was just such a chill drive. It took about an hour and a half, because I wasn't pushing. I was just enjoying the drive, and I'd recommend you guys do that every now and then. Just don't go out for lap records, don't go out for racing, just find a nice road and just drive. It really is a treat. Another treat is this thing, the Lotus 25, a car which I featured in a mini documentary recently, which you can go and check out on my channel. The first Formula 1 car to use an aluminium monocoque chassis. Why, you ask? Well, it produced a car which was so much more stronger, more rigid, and slightly lighter as well, because with a traditional aluminium space frame chassis, it would flex, it would twist and underload and become more prone to failure. But the monocoque provided much better protection for the driver, not total obviously, but much better. In the end, became one of the most successful Formula 1 cars of all time. 2 Constructors' Championships and 2 Drivers' Championships. Now my tea is all drunk. We have the March 701 from 1970. This one made by Racing Studios. Probably one of the most detailed cars you can find in Assetto Corsa. Probably everything you can see, you can customize the wings and just everything about it. You can even push the visor of the driver up for some reason. I mean, I don't know why you need to do that, but you can. Probably one of the best sounding cars as well. This featured in episode 1 of the best sounds in Assetto Corsa. You can go and check out all of them. They're on my channel. I'll leave a link to all of them in the description below. You can check those out, and this one again, an absolute treat to drive when I get the chance. Now on the hill climb now is a car I don't know too much about, haven't done too much research into it, but this is the Bentley Speed 8 from 2003, of course a Le Mans winning vehicle, and a design which you look at that and think this is probably one of the most beautiful sports cars ever made. It's just really flat, isn't it? It's just so flat, and as the driver gives us a bit of a flash, how rude of him. Yeah, it's absolute blast to drive. I haven't really done too many races with this. I've only done 1 or 2. I think I haven't done too well, but it's still an absolute incredible thing to drive. And taking it up the hill climb, it just felt so right for some reason. I don't know why, but it just did. And yeah, like I said, I don't know too much about it, so I'm gonna do a sound clip here, and the next car will also be a sound clip, so make sure you turn up the volume and enjoy these sounds from the Jordan 191. one of the most beautiful F1 cars ever made. Along with this, the Renault R25, and you'll notice this is the 33rd car as on this list, and Fernando Alonso obviously chasing his 33rd win, but I just realised that. Anyway, this is another time attack. We'll see what kind of time the Renault R25 gets at the end, and this, of course, from 2005, the last V10 cars in Formula 1. Such a shame they had to take it away, didn't it? Such a shame. And I hope they're happy. I hope they're happy, because I mean, V60 sound alright, but nothing will top this, as we already at the finish line, and we have a time of 35.9. Wow, considering that the actual lap record here is a 38.06, which was made by the McMurtry Spearling last year, where I was witness to that. That was absolutely incredible. So that gives an impression of how fast that car just went. Obviously, I don't think they'll let the R25 do anything of the sorts in the future. Well, now. But there we saw a Porsche 911 RSR 2017 going across the finishing line. And here at the start line, we see the wonderful 1924 Bugatti T35. This one made by Historic Sim Studios, of course. Go check them out in the description. And this car, one of the Bugatti. See, that's the thing with Bugatti. People forget they used to be one of the most well-established racing constructors in the world, and most successful as well. The Bugatti T35 and other subsequent variants were one of the most successful cars of all time, with over 1,000 wins across multiple different entrants. And this one is in the livery of Brother Williams, who drove that car in the very first Monaco Grand Prix and won it. Here we have a little bit of an oddity. The 2021 Piaggio Ape. This is practically a tuk-tuk, and these are popular all around the world. It's just little trikeys, little transport vehicles, but this one has been souped up for just insanity. And I really don't know much about this, if you can call it a car. I was just about to say a car, but I thought debatable. But you could check out videos of one of these, which is in essentially rallycross spec, and it absolutely blew my mind. And I thought, well, is there a version of Assetto Corsa? Oh, there is. Oh, okay, let's take this on a rally stage. And it was so fun, and you see it there moving about side to side so often. It's so hard to control. It's so fun. Honestly, go and download this thing. Recently we've seen a lot of three-wheeled and two-wheeled vehicles coming onto Assetto Corsa, which is really great to see. And yeah, this one absolutely incredible design, and it's actually controlled by handlebars as well. It's a little bit off-putting. Right, Group C now, the 1989 Aston Martin AMR 1. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I didn't really know this thing existed up until a few months ago when I first saw a picture of this. I thought, whoa, she's a stunner. And then I saw videos of it in action in real life, and I thought, I want to drive this. And I found a mod, and here it is. This one's made by Velo, and yeah, absolutely stunning. Those headlights are really nice, makes it look incredibly menacing. And see this thing at night in sim is again wonderful. But do be careful with your setup, because when you go on the when you come towards the end of the Mulsanne Straight without chicanes, you could flip it. And I very nearly did, and I think I uploaded that as a short. You can go and check that out. Yeah, absolutely stunning. Group C, one of the best times in just motor racing in general, in an era where it seemed like sports car racing was just creeping above F1 in terms of popularity. It really was an incredible time to be around. This is the Lancia Stratos HF from 1977. This one I have actually taken on the Targa Florio off camera, and it was really good fun. And this one did actually, in fact, take on the Targa Florio. Yeah, absolutely incredible. I don't know too much about this, but you were here. It is turbocharged. It is incredibly powerful. This was in an era where turbocharged cars were really starting to take hold and take grasp of the 24 Hours of Le Mans and other endurance race series. And yeah, absolutely stunning car, and that beautiful marble livery as it crosses the line. Last year really were the powerhouse of motor racing, weren't they? It's a shame you don't really see them around nowadays. But here we have another classic from Le Mans, the 1955 Jaguar D-Type. This one made by Samuel Rogers. A really nice mod actually. I don't know how accurate it is to the real thing, but it is really good fun to drive because it just moves around, it rolls side to side. You can really throw this thing around with ease. It can be difficult to drive at times, but if you're looking for some really awesome footage, go and check out Mike Hawthorne's lap of Le Mans from 55 or 56, where he basically strapped a microphone to his face and he commentated over the entire lap whilst driving a D-Type. Absolutely incredible footage. And this is another Le Mans classic. I had just quite a few of these recently. This is the 1990 Mazda 787B, probably the most beautiful sounding car in existence. As I clipped the grass there, had a little bit of a moment, I don't know where I was going. And there is one of these going at Goodwood. I've seen videos of it. Karun Chandok and Johnny Herbert have been driving it over the weekend, and I very much look forward to this. This one, of course, rotary engine and just an iconic sound, iconic livery, just an iconic car. And it's a shame the project never really went anywhere else. Obviously after Le Mans triumph, the FI decided to ban rotary engines, which is a really big shame. Now it's time for some American muscle V8 stuff. We have the McLaren M8C, this one made by Bazza, this one also from 1970 as part of the Can-Am series. If you're not aware of Can-Am, it was basically a series over in America and Canada, which obviously hence the name, and basically a series where you could just do whatever you wanted to the cars. It really saw McLaren's put their foot down on motor racing in general. Before they were successful in Formula 1, they were successful in Can-Am until Porsche came along and ruined everything. But yeah, absolutely iconic. There's plenty of M8s going to Goodwood this year, and I cannot wait to see them in person. And the sound of these things, it's just wonderful and incredibly powerful, incredibly dangerous. They really were. Now we have a bit of more of American action. We have a Brawn Hawk from 1969, of course won the Indy 500 that year, and this is pretty much a old IndyCar. If you're new to motor racing, you've seen IndyCar. This is pretty much what they were back in the 60s, and you'll notice at the back a really old design here. This is the road version, by the way, not the oval version. Notice the back, look at those rear wings. We have 3 separate rear wings, and you can't really call them wings, they're sort of just winglets. And you'll also know those big turbos in the back. This one is incredibly fast, and you can go and check out my video where I did the 1969 Indy 500 in this car, and oh wow, what a good fun race it was. There's constant battles throughout the entire video, and it was really good fun as well. Now this is, it's a car that's iconic for all the wrong reasons. Now the 1999 24 Hours of Le Mans will be memorable for one reason, for a particular car flipping, and this is that particular car, the Mercedes CLR. Didn't flip once, didn't flip twice, it flipped 3 times, I believe. The first time, no, it wasn't actually recorded. I think it was during practice. So they made some modifications to the car, and then during qualifying, Mark Webber also did the same thing, and the aftermath was caught on camera. And then on the actual race day itself, whilst chasing a Toyota, it did exactly the same thing for all the world to see. And Mercedes promptly withdrew from sports car racing after that. Now, has somebody got lost? Has somebody got lost? I mean, huh? Oh, okay. No, this is an actual car. Okay, the 1973, sorry, Reliance Supervan. Of course, this is actually rostered for this trip. I decided to put this here because, well, I wanted to. The iconic Reliance in Britain is pretty much a collector's item, and you'll notice there's 3 wheels. It was one of the worst car designs ever, but it became incredibly popular, especially in popular culture, with the Only Fools and Horses comedy series. And if you haven't checked that out, you really should be. And this is currently in the livery of Trotter's independent trading company, and yeah, iconic for those reasons, and an iconic car in British culture. It pretty much is the car of Britain. And obviously, if you notice, I am British, so I can say that. So forget Jaguar, forget Rolls Royce. No, it's the Reliance Supervan. Don't have me. Anyway, 2000 then, Chrysler GTSR, or Dodge Viper, if you want to be that picky about it. This one, part of the GT1 race series, and doesn't exist anymore. But this is made again by Race Sim Studios. One of my favourite cars to drive. I don't really drive a lot of GT stuff, but this is an exception. I love driving this. I drove this around Sebring during episode 2 or episode 3 of the best sounds in Assetto Corsa. This one definitely was one of the best ones I did for that video. I haven't done a racing one of these yet, but hopefully one day I will get to do that. And I've actually seen these cars not only Goodwood but at Brands Hatchet in action as well. Here we have another icon from motor racing, the 2004 Ferrari F2004. Of course, Michael Schumacher's 7th championship winning car, and a car where during pre-season testing Ferrari legitimately thought they had done something wrong, and there was something wrong with the car because it was just so much quicker than anyone else. However, they found out, no, there's nothing wrong with the car, it is just that quick. And this one made by Kunos as well, probably the oldest mod you can find in the game, but it still holds up. It's still incredibly fun car to drive, and I'd highly recommend you give this a go without traction control. And I once did a season with this car, and it was one of the best seasons I've ever done in sim. Quite literally a championship where each race either myself or my championship rival would win, one after another. It was an incredibly fun time to do. So do a season that you will not regret. Now, in 1991, Williams FW14, not the FW14B, but it's still an icon, that power livery with the cannon. It's just stunning, absolutely stunning. I mean, you couldn't make a F1 car. Imagine, I'm sorry, I digress. Formula 1 cars nowadays just don't look as beautiful as this. Imagine Williams right now unveiled a special livery for whatever race, and it was like this. There would be cracks in the earth from the amount of excitement. And of course, Nigel Mansell taking the FW14B to the 1992 World Championship title. The FW14 Standard Edition, let's call it that. Didn't quite live up to expectations, but it was still a fairly successful car during a time where Williams really started to grab F1 by the throat and conquer all in the 90s. Now, we have another Can-Am car for you. This is the Porsche 917-30, and again another car which is actually at the event this year, and I've seen plenty of videos of it going up the hill climb. This is one of the most powerful cars ever made in motor racing, and in qualifying trim this can go up to 2,000 horsepower. It has a turbocharged flat 12 engine in it. It's just, I mean, you don't need to make a car that powerful, do you, Porsche? But you did, and this car is pretty much blamed for ruining Can-Am racing because nobody else could match it. And this one can go on record reaching up to 300 kilometers per hour in just 4 seconds. An absolutely incredible piece of engineering. And we have another icon, and a car which never really made much success. And this is one of Adrian Newey's first Formula 1 car designs. the Leighton House, and again just a combination of that sky blue and the green just really just sets it apart from all the rest. And if you put this alongside all the other Formula 1 cars from 91, this one definitely stands out. I mean, 1991 just had so many just gorgeous cars on grid. I mean, imagine if we had something like that now, but no, all you get is carbon fibre. And yeah, just an absolutely wonderful design. And of course, Adrian Newey going off to bigger and better things with McLaren and Red Bull. Yeah, just wonderful design. Of course, made by ASR, so you know it's guaranteed to be incredibly fun to drive. And we have another Formula 1 car here. We have the V8 powered 2013 Lotus E21. And it was great to see Lotus back in Formula 1 after so many years. And are we going to get some donuts here from a driver who doesn't do them and doesn't know how to do them? Oh, kind of. Gets onto the gravel a little bit, and yeah, I think that's enough. Yeah, well done, Jack. I cannot do donuts. I try. When I was doing practice for this video, I did manage to do quite a few in a row, but that was after 10 minutes of trying. Yeah, I'm not very good. Please teach me. But again, the V8 era of Formula 1. An incredible era, beautiful sound. It's not as good as a V10, but it had its moments. And of course, Lotus only lasting in Formula 1 for a couple of years before they ran out of money and never be seen again. Obviously, they still do exist as a manufacturer. Now, this is the 1994 Williams FW16, a car which has a lot of history in Formula 1. If you're new to Formula 1, or even if you're a veteran of Formula 1, you'll know exactly what this car is associated with. It's associated with good things, it's associated with bad things, and of course the 1994 San Marino Grand Prix was a tragic event, not just for motor racing history but for just sports history in general, which saw the death of Ayrton Senna. But later on became a fairly competitive car, which saw a face-off between Michael Schumacher and Damon Hill at the season finale at Adelaide, which resulted in the two colliding and Schumacher winning his first world title. Now, bit of touring car action again, but this time the little tiny whiny 1964 Mini Cooper S. And this was during an era where it wasn't known as the British Touring Car Championships, it was known as the British Saloon Car Championships, in a time where a lot of Formula 1 drivers who were still competing in Formula 1 were also still competing in this series and were very successful in it. Drivers such as Graham Hill and Jim Clark being notable entrants to that series. And could you imagine a driver doing that nowadays? Well, no, it will never happen nowadays. Now, this is probably my favourite car of all time. When I first laid eyes on one of these things, I just instantly fell in love, and I think a lot of people have that same experience. This is of course the 1970 Porsche 917 and the Le Mans winning car as well from that year. If you haven't seen that video, go and check that out. It's one of the hardest videos I've ever done. It was so scary. You had rain, you had everything, and this car just every single angle of it, it's just stunning. And these cars are tiny, they're absolutely tiny. When I stood next to this at Goodwood last year, I'm sure I'll dribble all over it again this year, but when I stood next to it, the top of it only came up to my waist. It is tiny, it is absolutely tiny, but when you look at that you think that's massive, but it's not. But yeah, I've achieved about 230 miles an hour in that thing, so you're pretty fast, I think. Anyway, another bit of American flavour here for you, the 2023 Dallara DW12, also known as the present day IndyCars. IndyCar, if you didn't know, is a spec series. All the cars are made by Dallara, you just have different engines, you have either Chevrolet or Honda, and this is in the Romain Grosjean livery, and a very unlucky driver in IndyCar. Hopefully one day he can get his first win. And again, another car which is just incredibly fun to drive, so go and download it. Anyway, we have our most modern car on this hill climb. We're coming towards the end of our list anyways. If you're getting bored, I do apologise. Anyway, the Ferrari 499P, which won the 24 Hour of Le Mans this year. An absolutely incredible car. And it is actually there. Goodwood are just not running it, and it still hasn't even been cleaned since since the race. And an absolutely incredible race it was, wasn't it? Let's be honest. One of the better Le Mans that we've seen in recent years. And yeah, bravo Ferrari. I was really happy to see you win that. Anyway, the 2009 Pagani Zonda a bit of and oh dear, it's gone straight into the barriers. That was pretty bad. There, a very expensive bill will be coming your way, Jack. Don't worry, the recovery truck is on its way to rescue, pull you out of the hay bales there. Oh no, it's an actual. Okay, we got the MAN TGS, which is a racing truck. If you haven't seen a racing truck action, honestly, go and watch videos on YouTube, or go and attend one. It is so much fun, so insane, so big but so fast, and the crashes you see are absolutely insane. But that was actually a legitimate accident, by the way, with the Pagani. I didn't actually mean to do that. Just got my braking point wrong. Ironically, we had a similar accident on the Thursday at Goodwood, and yeah, a Hyundai went straight into the straw bales and just carried on. Through about 4 walls of hay bales, and lucky it stopped where it did, otherwise people could have been hurt. But yeah, racing trucks, probably one of my more popular videos is me doing this for the first time, and it was so much fun, and I'm surprised at myself I haven't actually done another one. But yeah, absolutely incredible. Right, another era in Formula 1, which was a transitional period. Of course, this is the Lotus 49C, and you'll notice advertising on its sponsorships. This one, of course, Gold Leaf Tobacco, and the first proper car you'll see sponsorships. And you'll notice the rear and front wings are a little bit more designed, you know, not just slabbed on there. They have a purpose now. And this car, again, another blast to drive, and you can really feel the difference between these cars and cars 2 years before that. You can really feel that downforce taking effect. Right, now we have another experiment from days gone by. This is the 2012 AAR Delta Wing, the car which competed at the 2012 24 Hours of Le Mans, and yeah, a car which I'm kind of glad didn't take off. I like the idea behind it. I kind of weirdly like the design of it, despite it kind of looking like a male genitalia. But anyway, this car competed at Le Mans. It wasn't successful. It only lasted 75 laps. Even during this run, I really struggled not to hit anything, because as you're driving the car, you're pretty much safe in the knowledge that the rear is pretty much the same width as what you're seeing in front of you. But on this car, it's not. It's about half car's width wider at the back, and you forget, and so you're constantly hitting things, and it's not fun. I'm so glad it didn't actually take off. Right, the SF70H. This one was actually meant to be a Goodwood this year, but instead they bought the SF71H from 2018. This one from 2017. The last of a generation of Formula 1 cars without the halo. See, that was introduced in 2018, and the next car, which is currently on the start line, is the 1986 Williams FW11, which is made by Racing Studios. Once again, an absolutely incredible sound, and this one only released a week or two ago, and that will be another sound clip, so make sure you turn the volume up, because this one is going to be tasty. absolutely incredible cars. They really were. 1986 cars going up to 1500 horsepower, an insane era of Formula 1, and one that a lot of us miss, as they were equipped with the V6 engines which you see today. A lot of people forget that. Yeah, looking at you. Anyway, another bit of Group C action here for you. This is the Jaguar XJR9 Le Mans, and of course competed at Le Mans, an iconic design in an iconic silk cut tobacco livery. It seems like tobacco companies always have the most iconic. Why not someone else? Except for Canon, but then again they had Camel on the Williams as well. Oh well, doesn't matter. And as we cross the line there, another wonderful sound from the back of that Jaguar. I can't actually remember what engine that has. Now I have a bit of pre-war action. The Mercedes W25 with that awesome supercharger sound. This one, of course, from 1934, and this particular mod made by Historic Sim Studios. And this is probably one of the most enjoyable cars to drive if you really want to experience 1930s Grand Prix racing as it was, how it felt, how much challenging it really was. Download this car. It is so fun, and it's so easy to get things wrong. This run wasn't my fastest. I really wasn't going for it, but even then the rear just constantly wanted to get away from you, and it had a nice 4-litre straight 8 engine as well, so pretty powerful, about 400 to 500 horsepower, and the first of a generation of the Silver Arrows, as they became known, in a transitional period in Germany in 1934. The new German government practically funded the Mercedes and its new rival team, which emerged shortly afterwards, which was of course Auto Union and their Type C, which you are seeing right there. Good timing. And this one designed by Ferdinand Porsche. And I think Porsche actually kind of own this, despite Auto Union now being part of the Audi brand. I'm not too sure, because the Porsche mechanics were working on it last year when I saw it. But anyway, one of the first successful cars to utilize rear engine, and this engine, not just any engine, this is a V16, which wouldn't look out of place if it was placed on a Heinkel Bomber or a Messerschmitt 109, because this one came out in 1936, again assisted by the German government, and again incredibly fast, goes way beyond 200 miles an hour in straight, and as you can see there, as I nearly crash into the flint wall, incredibly difficult to drive. Now, I have a video of me racing this thing at the old Bremgarten circuit, and again another difficult race was had there, and I managed to win it somehow. My best race ever, hands down. Wonderful car. Wish we had a mod where it's a little bit louder though. Right, if you've never seen this car before, I do not blame you, and if you're thinking this is a sidecar, again I don't blame you at all. This is the Nardi Bisiluro, this one made by Nugget and Machina, from 1955, a car which entered the Le Mans 24 hours of that year. Was it successful? Was it fast? No. But do I appreciate the idea behind it? Am I intrigued by it? Of course. This is really fun to drive, despite it being not really fast. It's still incredibly fun to drive, and it feels so narrow. It feels like you are riding a bike, but then you look to your left and there's everything. There's everything there for no reason. I don't actually know where the engine is. I think it is on the left hand side there, and then obviously as you're driving there's nothing on the right. So it's really weird. It's a really strange feeling, and the way it rolls side to side, it feels like it's going to tip over at any moment. But of course, we crossed the line, managed to win that one, and yeah. Weird, and I love weird. And this is another weird thing, the Tyrrell P34 from 1976, the first successful six-wheel car in Formula 1, this one driven by Jody Scheckter that year, and it was successful because it won the 1976 Swedish Grand Prix at I've forgotten now. I'm not very good at this. Literally, I've put the name of the circuit at the top of my head. It's there, but I can't actually remember. Anyway, it's the first six-wheel car. Again, iconic blue elf livery as well, and probably the last successful Tyrrell up until the 1991 with the Till 020. Such a shame, but that's life, I'm afraid. And yeah, good to see the Till out once again. I still need to do that in a race. Right, the last car we have is the Porsche 919 Evo, and here we are about to try and break my personal best, which is a 33.8, and it's probably one of the fastest cars in the Assetto Corsa where you can do that. It's not quite McMurtry Spearling, but it's still good nonetheless. Of course, one of the fastest cars in modern times, breaking Nürburgring lap record, Spa lap record, and just a regular 919 with everything stripped out. And as we go along past the house, DRS fully open, boost fully engaged as we go down to Morecambe, and every time you apply the brake it will just pretty much ground to a halt really quickly. Through the flip wall, not the fastest car we've seen through there today, up towards the final straight bit, and in the final corner now, DRS fully open even through the corner, and we go across the line, and it is a 35.4. Wow, that is still very, very quick. Only just a couple of tenths away from the Renault R25, but the Porsche 919, absolute blast. If you really want to have a challenge, try and beat the real Nürburgring Nordschleife for lap record in that car, because that currently holds it. And that concludes this long Assetto Corsa Sounds special, and I really hope you enjoyed it. This was really fun to make. It's taken a lot of time, it's taken me all week, so I'd really appreciate you liking this video. And I'm going to take a well-earned break because talking for this long really does get me a little bit tired. And I've got to have dinner now and get prepared for go to Goodwood tomorrow and Sunday. I've got to get all my cameras ready. And be sure to follow me on Instagram, and you can see all sort of what I'm doing there, etc. And if you're around, if you spot me, let's say hi, because on Sunday I'm going to be there on my own, so it'd be great to meet some of you if you are around. Say hi and we can check out some awesome awesome sounds together. And yeah, like I said, I hope you enjoyed. It's a bit of a long one, so I do apologise. And yeah, hope you all have an awesome weekend. If you are new, subscribe as well. And of course, we have hopefully our regular content coming back next week. It depends on how busy I am. For some reason, I'm just really busy lately. But of course, this will mean there'll be no historic F1 series round this weekend. That'll be next week instead at Aintree for the British Grand Prix. So again, apologies for the delay on that, but I've just been incredibly busy. So until the next one, I hope you have an awesome weekend and enjoy Goodwood if you're going. Enjoy the live stream. This isn't actually sponsored by Goodwood, by the way. I just thought I'll mention that. Just doing it because I love the event. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching. Take care. See you later.